Hello everybody, this is CJ Wiley with more adventures on the road. I had a great time at the Derby. It didn't come out quite like I'd planned. I had someone, actually on my YouTube channel, someone wanted me to take their spot in the tournament in the 9-ball. And I've never played in the Derby City Championships. I went there in 2006 to qualify for the IPT tour that Kevin Trudeau had going on, which I didn't do, but I ended up gambling with Shane Van Boning. We played for $500 a game, even 9-ball, and he got me 8 games loser. I came back and got even, and he quit for some reason. He ended up playing Gabe Owens, so I guess he just maybe got a better game in his opinion, even though I've never really asked him. You know, I'm sure he didn't think I could beat him, but I was getting in some stroke there, and that touch of inside kicked in, and I know I made some shot. I think it was some kind of kill shot, and he kind of hurried over to the guy he was with. He was sitting in the corner, and he whispered something to him, and then I think I was 2 games ahead at the time, and then when we got even, he quit. So, you know, it may have been, I don't know. But that was my only experience at the Derby City Classic, except last year I went for 3 days because some friends of mine that own Fat Cats in Asheville, North Carolina, Michael especially, who's a good friend of mine, and we talk about all kinds of stuff, and his brother Thomas, and this is just a great bunch of people. And they had a historic building rented like an Airbnb in Louisville that was by the river, and it was almost like a mini castle. And nobody wanted the very upstairs because those last flight of stairs, you had to go up 2, and then the third one was really steep. And I don't really mind that. I like to exercise, so I took that room up there, and I had like a huge bedroom, king-size bed, a beautiful view of the river. I had a kitchen and a hot tub and a whirlpool, and I mean, I wouldn't mind having that for an escape spot anywhere in the country. But that was a fun experience. Again, I didn't play. I don't like gambling around tournaments for the most part. It's just, you know, old habits are hard to break. When I was developing as a gambler, you didn't want to play around tournaments with a bunch of people watching unless you were trying to lose on purpose. And then that was real effective, because then you could get out to a whole bunch of them, and then you could go around and pick them off one by one in their home pool rooms. And back then there wasn't the internet, so they wouldn't find out for a while what was going on. By that time you could probably beat 8 to 10 of them. We used to do that just on a smaller scale with the big cities. We'd go in and play in the big city pool room and get up and just lose maybe $100, $200. And we'd do it on a night when a lot of the players from a small town would come in, like when they had like a mini tournament, so that we could do this show. We call it laying down a lemon, or staging a show. And, you know, once you understand how staging things work, you'll see that a lot of the things that are in the news are actually staged. They don't cover the news, they create the news. So it's real important to know that. And once you have an eye for it, you can see it. Just like marked cards. If you don't know where they're at, you'll never see the mark. But once somebody points it out to you, that's all you can see. And you can never unsee it once your eyes are attracted to that. That's just how the subconscious works. So I hung out for... So anyway, at the Derby, when I get there, I go up, I'm hanging around the where you sign up, and I didn't want to do that right away, so I was just talking to a couple people, and then I heard that Nick Varner was trying to get in the tournament, but they wouldn't let him because this year they changed the law, or changed the rules, I guess it's law, that you have to have the reservation or the entry in your name. So you can't, I guess, sell it or give it away or you know, give it to your horse that's in the race if you're a backer. So I think a lot of people got affected by that. So I didn't even ask. On the range of favoritism, I think Nick Varner is going to be way above me, especially at the Derby, because he's played in it a lot and won it. And again, like I said, I've never played in it. See, I quit playing in '99, and that's when the Derby really started. And then I didn't play again until 2006, and that's when I went there and ended up playing Shane. And then I quit really for another couple years, and then I came back and I started getting more into the teaching. And you know, I really never developed my game back to where it was, you know, at my highest level, which was really all through the 90s. Peaking out in 96 when I won the ESPN World Championships and they named me Player of the Year. I was playing about as good as I think the game could be played at the time. Still human, you know, so we can always make mistakes, but as far as having the game down to a science, I really did, except a lot of the things that I was doing was at the subconscious level. So I had to go back when I started playing again and kind of, it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. You know, I had to put the pieces back together. But this time I wanted to make them a little bit better. And I had a few things that I wanted to improve on. And my grip, you know, was always a key to my game. Once I got my hand in the right position, my game would skyrocket because I could hit exactly where I was aiming every time. And really didn't have to aim. And that's what I'm going to start teaching people in just a few days. We almost got everything set for the super stance and super stroke trainers, because you need that to be able to develop your stance and stroke in the comfort of your own home. You don't need a pool table. You can do it on a dining room table. I mean, I used to do stuff like this in the hotel rooms. But let me get turned around here before I get too far off. I'm down by this cool looking lake. See if I can get turned around before I get too far away from where I need to go next. Yeah, once my hand was in the right position, it just seemed like everything fell in place. And I was a slow starter, typically, because you really could make more money if you didn't beat somebody, you know, right at the very first. You know, I used to go back and forth with people for hours, you know, and just try to stay even with them, or I'd let them stay a little ahead of me. And usually we would wait, if I had a partner on the side, we'd wait till my opponent got in his zone. And then I would pick up my game, because one thing about somebody, it's a two-edged sword. You want to get in the zone. You want to get in what we call dead stroke, you know, where you're playing really more at a subconscious level. But the problem with that is it's really hard to quit when you get in that zone. So if somebody intentionally allows you to get in that zone that actually plays a lot better, that's when you're going to lose the most money. And I've done that time after time after time. So being a fast starter was never a big deal for me. However, when I started playing in the pro tournaments, which really, my first major one was in Toronto, Canada, and I played Efren and then Earl back to back. And I happened to win against both of them. But it was kind of like an ambush, you know. I really was an aggressive player, and they didn't know really what to expect. Earl knew me. I'd run into him a few times. Efren didn't. So a lot of times if you're playing somebody you don't know and they come out firing, even if you're a much better player, you'll falter. You know, it's kind of like even Mike Tyson. Boy, if you surprise him and go in, but you really have the tools to knock him out, you can. The first time. Now the second time's a whole nother deal, because they're going to be expecting it. So definitely wouldn't try to knock Mike Tyson out if he was expecting it, would you? But be that as it may, I consider, you know, Efren kind of like the Mike Tyson of pool. He's knocked out a lot of players, and I really respect his game, as I do Earl. Earl and I have had some huge games. My biggest money match, really, all-inclusive, is playing Earl. We played a race to 7, which ended up being for $70,000, and it came down to the last game. So we played one game which ended up being for $70,000 because I won 80, because I won the finals, which was the match after that on ESPN, and then I won the Challenge of the Sexes, which was $60,000. So I won $80,000, and he won 10. So that's a pretty huge deal. So anyway, since I couldn't play in the tournament, I really wanted to scout some of the top players anyway, because there's this one last piece to the puzzle that I've put together that I think is pretty much the final one to get me where I can play at my top level again, and I can teach everybody how I'm doing it, because this is something that I was doing subconsciously, and it just came to me really about 3 weeks ago is when it really started coming in, and it was in my hand, but it wasn't really my grip. It was something besides that, and I'm going to explain this in detail. One of the fringe benefits of getting my super stroke and super stance trainers is you're going to have access to a part of my website that you can only get to with a code that we're going to give you, that's going to be on the card that comes in the package that I'm going to send you. Now, I'm going to send these myself for a while, and I'm going to autograph the super stance for you, if just to make it personable, and you'll know that you got one of the first. I'll probably do 100 of them where I'll sign them, and then I may keep it up, I may not. But by that time, I'll probably have it more automated and won't have to send them out myself. But I like doing everything myself at first, so I see how everything works. I can take care of the customer service, and I can answer the questions that you're going to have. I probably answer 20 to 30 questions average a week. And anybody that's ever corresponded with me, please, if I have, let me know in the comments, and if we met at the Derby and sat down and talked, let me know, what you thought. Because there was 6 or 7 guys that I sat down with that knew a lot about me because they'd listened to my road stories. So we had some things to discuss, and I really had an enjoyable time. And some of these guys, they like the players to be personable, not just hello, how are you doing, but to sit down and really ask them and want to know about their life and their game and their goals and aspirations and some of their stories they have. We've all got pool stories that's been around it for a while. So another person I ran in at the Derby was Doug Smith, one of my original road partners. He's in my book. And I know I've said this a few times, but my book, it's on Kindle right now. You can get it through Amazon. And I think here in the next couple days, you'll be able to order it straight from Amazon. And they did approve it to do hardback, because I wanted to do some signature copies, but I wanted it to be hardback. And I guess Amazon doesn't let just any book go to hardback. So, my partner that's helping me with this said that was a good sign, because if they approve it for hardback, then they think it's a good book. And I was pretty happy with how it came out, especially if you're a pool player. And I wrote this book not only for pool players, for anybody that wanted to experience what it was like to be on the road and kind of the underworld element of pool. But also throughout the book, I put a lot of things in that I've learned through pool, and why I say the game is the teacher, because I've learned a lot of really high-level things just by understanding how it relates through the game of pool. And if you've played most of your life, you can probably relate to that. So another person that came up when Doug and I was talking was Omaha John and Weldon Rogers. And it just so happens that I have talked to both of them in the last 24 hours. And, man, they're both just a trip. They're still, when you get older, I always thought you had old thoughts and things changed mentally, but really that's not the case. I feel the same now. I mean, I've got a lot more experiences, but I still feel the same talking to them as I did back when I was 20 years old, talking with them. And it's amazing that 40 years has went by since then. And but one thing I wanted to say, Weldon Rogers when, he quit for a number of years and did some other things. He was more into poker, and I think he had a poker game and did some other things like that. But what he told me today when I said I'd been talking to Omaha John, he said when he was in Tucson, Arizona, he had a pool room, and he used to do tip repair. Let me see. I'm trying to turn around here. Can't see very well. But he's trying to, but he did tip repair, and Omaha John came through there and wanted him to put a tip on a cue that he was using to brake with. And Weldon said he remembered clearly that Omaha John told him specifically not to shape the tip. He wanted it completely flat. And that's, after that, I started seeing that more and more. But if you look at the high-tech brake cues now, you'll see a lot of them have phenolic tips, or at least real hard tips, but they're not rounded. They're more flat. Because if you hit it off center on the brake, you're hitting it so hard, if you hit it off center, it can really deviate quite a bit. But if you've got that flat tip, it doesn't spin the ball very much. So I think he even had a little bit bigger shaft as well, so that he had a little bit more margin of error. Because really, for the most part, back when I was developing on the road and there was so much action in the country, what people would say is if a cue wasn't good enough to brake with, it certainly wasn't good enough to play with. So I kind of went by that my whole life. And when I did become the number one ranked player, that's something that I did. I broke with my own cue. I would use a brake cue sometimes because, I thought maybe I was missing out on something, but I just never liked breaking the balls and then having to go back and change cues because they feel a little bit different. Plus, it broke up my rhythm a little bit. So I know Shane Van Boning said one time that he really liked to brake with his playing cue, but especially playing 10 ball, the new cues will allow you to hit the ball a little bit harder with the same amount of effort. So in 10 ball that matters. 9 ball, they're not really braking that hard these days. They're hitting the cut brake, or if they do brake with the 1 ball in the spot, it's more of a pop brake. Nobody's like hitting them like Bustamante and David Howard and Earl Strickland and Johnny Archer and myself used to do, where we just put everything into it. I like that, and I also like racking for each other, but that's another story for another time. So Omaha John knew about that flat tip, and I'm going to ask him next time I talk with him where he found out about that, because it might have been Surfer Rod, his partner, because it seems to me like Surfer played with the big cue ball, and I think he liked a flatter tip, but I'll be sure to ask John when I talk with him again. He actually sent me another message today. I want to put together a podcast with Omaha John, Junior Weldon Rogers, and maybe Keith McCready. And that would be amazing because we all know each other. We've played against each other. We've, for the most part, they've all, well, not Keith, but certainly John and Weldon have bet on me a number of times. So we all went through the gambling, and we're still really good friends. When you get older, of course, you don't communicate as much. It helps to be on Facebook. But I'd love to put this together and listen to these guys more. I don't really want to do much of the talking, but I can ask all the right questions because I know all the players that that they're going to be mentioning as well. Some of them were before my time, so I didn't know them personally, but I knew just about all of them, like Ronnie Allen and Jersey Red and Bugs and Vernon Elliott. Man, they were just a list of characters there that were all really entertaining to be around. I kind of miss those days, but that's why I want to document this stuff in videos and in my book and save that history, because I think there needs to be another great pool movie, and that really is what I'm heading towards. We have connections to make that possible, but first I got to get the book out, and I hope when it's out you'll enjoy it, because I listen to mostly audiobooks, and the audiobook again should be finalized. They have to approve it, so I'm not sure why it's been kicked back. We discussed it a few days ago, and it looks like it has something to do with the different chapters, that they required something and it wasn't done. But my partner Casey, I think, either has that done or will have it done very soon. It's more of a challenge to get books out than I thought, but it's a really cool deal because Amazon will handle all the shipping, and they print the books, and then the hardback cover. I'm gonna buy at least 20 or 30 of them and sign them to people, but I want those to be hardback. The softback covers I don't think would be as good of like a collector's item or like a coffee table conversation piece or whatever it may be. So anyway, I had a great time at the Derby. I met, things just took their places. So I'm excited about what's getting ready to happen, because, we're going into the next phase, and that's the shoot or dare phase. So if you want to see what that is, go to shootordare.com. It's like truth or dare, but it's on a pool table. Anyway, I think it's going to be an incredible game to really showcase these younger players and see how good they actually are, because I know they're strong. I mean, they play, like I played that level, but I don't think I played it quite as consistently because I didn't practice as much as a lot of players do. I just never was a practice player. That's how come my fundamentals and techniques had to be really solid so that I could get away with not practicing as much. Because like I've said, and this is I'm repeating this quote, but it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect. So that's what's going to happen with these training devices that I have. It's going to put you in the perfect position, and then I'm going to show you how you get your arm and your elbow and your hand and your wrist all in the ideal position, and then all you have to do is the repetitions. So there's no getting around that. You're going to have to, I would say, put in 15 or 20 minutes a day for 3 weeks average, and I think your game will be significantly better. And I can teach you these higher level techniques of how I actually aim without aiming. I really just feel the angles. So I'm thinking of the shot more as creating angles rather than trying to hit one ball into another ball into a contact point or a ghost ball or whatever the case may be. I could not play like that. If I had to aim at a contact point or a ghost ball, I would quit playing and take up something else. Because the way that I do it connects the shots together. It gives me so much more feel than just trying to hit one thing into another. So you don't connect to what you're doing. But anyway, you'll understand when I show you and you get the hang of this. It's one of those deals where you can't really understand it until you can do it. So what I want to do is give you the tools to really feel what I'm talking about, so that you can pass it on to other players in your future. And that's how the sport's going to evolve, and that's how we're going to get great players back in the United States. Because I want to work with several of these young potential champions, and especially with their mother or father, I can not only teach the young man or young lady these advanced techniques, but I can show the parent at the same time how to oversee the development, and that's a really important thing to know. So that's about it for today. I can't wait to show you what I'm going to do on the pool table, because it's going to fill in some of these questions that you might have. But if you do have questions or comments, please feel free to ask. I'll answer all of them. It might take me 24 hours, but I'm usually pretty prompt. that's it for now. Till next time, this is CJ. Over and out.